Hello and welcome. Today, a bit of a change of plans because the weather has been so bad and I'm having trouble getting the EL33s for the big Philips stroke Mullard radios I've been working on. So I just randomly picked a couple of radios or a radio from the quite number that I bought a couple of weeks ago, and it happened to be this what do they call it? His Master's Voice Little Nipper Super 5 6554. So HMV Little Nipper Super 5 6554. Now these radios went from the very early 60s up until 1968, and it turns out my examples were built, well, some of the components in them are dated 1167 and 1168, so they're quite late build radios. One of them was a breeze to fix, although it's sort of, something's crashing in it, making very loud, sort of shorty noises, if you like to call that. Sort of, so there might be a valve that's arcing over or something like that. The second one, well, yes, you'll see the problems with it. Even though it was only sort of made maybe a month before or something like that. It just shows you how well you look after a radio can affect its life. Okay, so, well, the weather, as I say, is pretty shocking, so we'll try and get back into it next week, the cabinet stuff and the Philips. So if the valves turn up for that, and yes, so sit back and enjoy. I'll be interested to see what this is like, because I haven't worked on one of these before, so this is new to me if it's new to you. So I guess this is the valve version, and it's quite deep. I'm sure they made a variation of this later on, which was transistorized. This was the death throw of valve radios for HMV. So let's pull it apart. This radio does work. In fact, it works quite well, except it's crashing and obviously needs new capacitors in it. There's that for a long delayed sentence. Okay, so we'll well, that is really hard, so I'll get the knobs off and we're back. So I can see why the knobs were so difficult. If you look at the shaft, the shaft goes all the way down inside there, so there is plenty of friction on there. Okay, we have two screws on the back. Okay, so assume remember these cords on the HMV television we had, which was a pretty useless thing in the end, because we're on the end of a power string. It was actually an extension of the end of a power string. When the voltage went down in the evenings, around about dinner time in the winter, the picture on the television would just fade away to nothing. So we put up with that for far too long, I would think. All right, we're in. So this is where things became very simple and straightforward. So it does have changed valves in it. So it's a combination of Phillips and a Mullard down there. So I don't know whether that was original or not. So the lineup is a 6AN7, a 6BA6, a 6AV6, a 6M5 and a 64X, which is pretty much used in everything. So the Phillips, the Chryslers and some of the other the AWAs, the period. So it looks like this is a later model. So it's got the polyester caps in it. So there and there. So they won't need replacing. And just these two Elna power caps, which are 16 UF, 16 microfarads. Apart from the dust, it looks like a pretty low hour set. The only problem with it is the black backing vinyl, I guess it is, or plastic sheeting or something, that has come unglued or shrank down, and there's big lumps of it here and over here too. It's not smooth, but yeah, it's shrunk down to a big gap over there. But I'm not going to be bothered with that. It'll be interesting to see what the other one, which I bought at the same time, if it was built at the same time. So excuse me thinking out aloud as I'm going along. So this is the first time I've seen inside it, and yeah, so pretty simple, straightforward set. What I'll do is I'll replace these two capacitors, clean the valve sockets and the controls. There's volume control there, a tone control there. And that's about it, really. Okay, so I'll replace those two caps and we'll be back. And this is it cleaned up. So this is actually looking very nice. So this is the original colour in here. Can you see that? Yes. And the outside of the case is, yeah, it's getting light. Yeah. So that's very satisfying. The green part has not faded much at all. But as I said earlier, the front of the case has yellowed. Yes, the chassis isn't perfect. It's got a couple of little pits and things in it, and I haven't cleaned it up all that well because, well, it's going to be a daily driver and it's going to get dirty again. But I would think the valves are original because the sockets and their pins were absolutely perfect. The socket itself was quite tight. So we'll just clean this off a little bit. Yep. And I'll clean the cord at some stage, especially the power point or the plug itself. This radio looks brown in the viewfinder and on the computer screen, but I assure you it's a very pale orange, almost pink orange. So this sponge is bright orange, and yeah. So it's called coral colour. It's coral. And this one isn't in quite as good condition. I'm going to, looks a little bit older. I think the other one was 3.6 or something, 3.6. This one's 3.4. So again, excuse me while oh, actually the power cord's not in as good a condition either. So this will have to be replaced. So this is sort of coming away. Yes, it's been chomped by something. It's got a small crack there, and it's got a few dead bugs or millipedes or whatever you like to call them in there. So let's have a close up of that. Don't know whether you can see the bugs in there. So those two semicircular things. Again, it's got the heat damaged black plastic, I guess it's plastic, background there. These are much more tarnished than the other ones. So if you look at the difference, yeah. So this one isn't in as good condition. It didn't work before, but I'll try it again. So the earth pin has a rather a kink in it. It's off and on. Okay, so the lights are on. It's good how they group the volume and the tuning together, because you don't really play with the tone all that often.
Today I have shared with you my experience at the hardware store. The big one, you know one. And I was in the tiling section. I know nothing about tiling. I was throwing myself into a new adventure. I have tiles, by the way. My 10-year-old and I did it.
That sounds a little bit like the speaker.
Anyway,
Alright, so I'll take the back off and be back. Interestingly, these cans or covers are stamped 1167. 67, okay. It has to be 67, 1167. And the other one, the green one, was 1267. So this is made around about the same period of time as the other one. It's a bit dirtier inside, and the plating isn't quite as good. The valves, so Mullard, Phillips and Phillips, which are the same company really. Yeah, so this one's had a bit of a harder life, but I'm a bit worried about the speaker. It seems to it's not actually rubbing at all. So what I'll do is I'll again replace those two Elna caps and go from there. Might have to check some of the resistors too. Well, I checked them on the other one, but they're all pretty close. And I don't think anyone's been in here again. That's actually gold on there. So it's a very high tolerance resistor. Yeah. So, I suspect a couple of the caps have been replaced in the other one. This is all the green coloured Ducon polyester caps. Well, I've changed these two caps, so let's see what happens when I put some voltage on it and some current, of course. Interestingly, the dim bulb doesn't seem to light when these are on. They use these old transformers too, these big huge things, which date back to the late 1940s, early 1950s, I think. So they obviously were trying to make these as cheaply as possible.
I don't really understand what's going through their heads, but it is, I mean, we talked about Menzies College, all those kids live there. I did all my theatre there.
Well, it's a little bit better.
Like Robin did, and you know, it was such a great place for me to go, and where I learned how to, I was in the Battle of the Bands there. I did my first stand-up comedy there in the Union Hall, designed by Chancellor and Patrick. So the architecture is always...
How many people were there at your first stand-up gig?
There would have been 150.
Well done. That's brilliant. Battle of the Band. What were you singing?
Our band Black Rose, the run that as well. We had a song called I Drive Home, Mine Was the Brown One. I don't think there's too many bands in it, but it was cool.
Okay. Well, something is not connecting up properly. One of the valves is maybe...
The occasional address for a whole bunch of graduating students. When I was a student, I would never have imagined that. Wonderful student from an African background who was there, and most people had, two people there taking a photo of your name and there with your mum and your dad when you graduate. But there was about, I don't know, they had 30 people there or something. He was just the first person in the family to go to university, and to me that just sums up this.
That doesn't sound quite right, does it?
That everyone is welcome.
It'd be the oscillator or
Everyone has a
first IF.
It's not about going to time or whatever you came from. It's about the power of education and knowledge for people.
I was going to ask you what the Unibar was like, but after such a beautiful soliloquy of campus life and what universities could mean to people there, I think that's probably exactly what we need, Tim. I love those memories, though. Thank you for sharing them.
So we'll spray out the volume and the tone controls. It's the tone control, the volume control. Squirt a bit of this deoxin in there. This is the lubricating one. Can't remember whether I did it before. Only need a tiny amount of this. It feels a lot better.
To be a woman at this particular time, and how do you find your voice if who you are isn't really appreciated in the world? And
That's very...
You feel like what you are is different and doesn't, I think that is a common experience for a lot of women. So I was interested in exploring those themes through Emily and through her mess.
And to do that, you took some license on relationships and some historical facts, and there's a little bit of spirituality, I suppose, through the story as well. Is that a difficult thing to do when you're writing something like this, given?
So the next thing to do is, seeing it's sort of working, it's trying to work. And it looks like someone has played with this coil here. Probably the first RF transformer. Now, how hot are they? That's not even hot. So what I'm going to do is clean the top of the chassis and the valve sockets, and I'll be back. Yeah, so this one is a bit higher hours by the looks of it. So the pins are a bit, well, they're not shiny silvery colour like the other ones. The other ones were like brand new. So this is a little bit higher hours. It's pretty grotty, probably from cigarette smoke and stuff like that. So let's fire it up again. I've tested the valves, and I think it was this one of these three was weak, and we'll turn it on. So the dim bulb is set around about 200 volts. So it's rising up, settling down. I mean, it should be working fine. So there's something a little bit odd with it. I've had to turn the heater on again. It's awful weather.
There with one lane open, and tow trucks are now loading up on the Westgate Free inbound on the exit ramp to Kingsway. Right near Chev Shed, and traffic's getting tired by one lane, and that puts delays off the...
Nothing like a intermittent fault, is there?
You can listen to it right here, live on ABC Radio Melbourne from 7 p.m. Thursday.
And this is ABC Radio Melbourne.
We'll get some finance information for you later. We're going to talk food right now on the program. How do you handle Christmas? Who brings what when you are talking food around the Christmas table at the moment? Do you divvy that up? Do you always have to bring the ham? Does someone bring the cherries? Does it change year to year? How do you plan what people are doing? 1300 222 774. And do you try and eat local? Do you try and eat Victorian on your Christmas menu? And even if so, what is groaning? 1300 222 774. We're going to talk about this and more today on Foodie Tuesday. Emma Germano is the president of the Victorian Farmers Federation Farm in Gippsland. Big foodie. She can tell you how to eat more Victorian this Christmas. G'day, Emma.
Hello, Warwick. Nice to talk to you here.
Yeah, great to talk to you here as well too. How do you handle Christmas lunch? Have you got a secret recipe, or do you divide up who's bringing what?
Oh, being from an Italian family, there is no shortage of food. It lasts about 3 days. And as much as my mum likes to pretend that everybody's going to bring something, she gets herself involved in every part of that process generally anyway. So we have started a new tradition. I've started cooking breakfast brunch, Christmas brunch, on the days where we're not doing Christmas Day but we're doing Boxing Day. So that's my new little contribution to Christmas fare.
What's your speciality for a Christmas brunch?
Oh, I like to do, using the Christmas ham, a really nice Benedict for the hollandaise with some asparagus and some mushrooms and that sort of thing to get everybody going.
Good way to work your way through some ham too, because usually there's a lot of that. No.
Always.
Emma Jamal's with you, President of the VFF. We're talking about how to eat Victorian this Christmas, some of the things behind that as well. But I'd also love to know how you divide who brings what to your Christmas plate as well. Actually, Amy's called Chelsea Heights on 1300 222 774.
Well, there doesn't seem to be any loose connections or anything like that.
I'm just keeping it really simple this year because I just don't want any stress. I don't think anyone does. And I've ordered a really nice big braising platter from a really nice local restaurant in my area, a cafe.
So let's fire up.
I've ordered also as well croissants.
So let's fire up the signal generator and we'll see what that can do for us. Rightio. So let's fire it up. I know it works. Now, okay, so we'll put it onto AM modulation. So intermittent frequency 1 kilohertz. Well, let's put it down to 400 for the time being. Now, what's our frequency? It's probably 455. No, 457.5. Very odd. 457.5. Okay. Megahertz. So address, whatever that is, 30 to 50, 120.1 to 30. Okay, how do we change that? Okay, so that's good. All right, frequency. Digit select. So let's attenuate this, 100 decibels. Make this 5 decibels. Oh, okay. So frequency there, frequency range. Okay, and we can do a sweep with begin and end. Ah, okay. Ah, so that's good. So that's our output frequencies, or our intermittent frequencies. And there is our so that's the full output of the signal generator. And it's not very pure signal. Not sure what this meter does. Go down to 10. Well, that might be why AM %. And that one is FM kilohertz. Okay. It doesn't seem to be doing anything, that meter. Right. So this should be 3AK. This is the ghost of it. Just going to bring that down. So this is way off. So this has definitely been mucked around with. Now this has those little Phillips trimmers in it. And these have definitely been mucked around with. Right. I'm tuning into the lights. Ah, here we go. So that should be 1500. Okay, that's spot on 3AK, which is 1500. Or was 1500, I should say. Okay, so we'll go to 600. I'll be able to program in the frequencies. Maybe a battery in there or something. And which station was... That's 770 3LO. So it should be down here somewhere. And 3AR was 530. Aha! So that's 530. Just let me look up the station at 600. So this has a couple of marks there, and the dial pointer is supposed to line up with it. Silly thing. Focus. Yes. So I don't know whether you can see those marks on there. So yeah, the dial pointer is supposed to line up with those marks. Now, whoever's played around with this in the past hasn't aligned it properly, because this is right over it in the extreme edge. In fact, it's off the dial. And there is a dot there as well. But when it's fully meshed, I think it's supposed to line up with those two marks there, and it doesn't. So if I come around here and have a look at the dial string, don't know whether you can see that or not, but it has a knot in it on the top. So there's two ends of the string there, and there's been a mark put on it, but I'll bring you down. On the tuning gang wheel, there's the end of it there. If I can grab it. Of course, it's not going to play games, is it? Come on. Still can't get it. There we go. So there's the proper end of it, and the other proper end is in the spring. It's a sort of one of those tapered springs where the knot just goes inside, so you just thread the dial cord through there. So what am I going to do? I'll probably have to undo this knot slightly. If I can pull that down, there's probably enough tension in the spring, is there? Yeah, I can loosen that off a bit. So I'm going to throw caution to the wind and undo this bottom one. If possible. What the devil have they done to me? Okay, so it's off that bit of string. Now we'll bring the pointer over. so might as well put that in there. So let's move along. So it was over here. Where was it? Approximately. So it's approximately there, and it should be about 2 centimeters to the left. So about there. Now, the $64 question is, can I get that loop back on the bottom of it? No. Let's go. Okay. So that needs to go round. Maybe 5 for this one. Just move on. Nice tension. Where's that going? Okay, so the tension is off the string. And we put it on. Yep. Maybe 5. Come on, please. I think it's easier to bring your string on. Come on. No, you're not there. That's it. Okay. Now, tie this up again to stand back on. Don't break the... Okay, it's on. Now, where's it ended up? Okay, that's the very end. Fully meshed. Oh no. Well, it's about 2 millimeters to the right of those marks. Yeah. So it's about well, 1.5 to 2 millimeters to this way. So that's not a bad thing. So let's go about aligning it again. I did have some sticky tape somewhere, but I can't find it. So that needs to actually sit up there, and if it hadn't cracked because of the heat, that would have sat up there quite nicely. Yes, this has gone hard and crinkly, so it's obviously shrunk. That piece has burnt off. I don't think we can see the burn marks. Sort of browny, goldy colour, but a little spider has decided to make a nest in there. So there's a couple of little dead spiders there. So yes, so it's pretty rare for a Australian radio to not come with either a spider's nest, paint drips, or both, or even worse, rat or rodent infestation. And rodent infestation is particularly unpleasant. So I'll bring the meter down. See if I can arrange this all. I have to, there's another piece of the dial perspex. So this is all jury rigged because I haven't got all my leads out yet. Can we see that? Yes! Wow! It started instantly. How can that be? So we'll tune down to 600. Well, we won't put it on the side, will we? You can tell this is going to be a real pain to do like this. So, okay, there's the 600 mark for AT. And what do we get? A dodgy volume control. Okay, so that's bang on-ish. No, it's not. Come on. Well, that's interesting. That's pretty good. Let's go to 1500. Why can't I still hear it? Okay. Enter 3, okay. Okay, so it's on 3XY, which is 1420, or used to be. And it's nowhere near 3XY, okay. So someone's had a jolly old time with this, that's for sure. Not sure why it's fluctuating like that. Ah, it's already beginning to get a lot better. Okay, 600. Now apparently there's a paddle screw at the front of the tuning gang. Ah, so it's that one. It's a bit of a problem up here because at night the band is absolutely jam-packed with stations.
Blake Jones.
Well, I think that might do for tonight on this part of it anyway. It's actually getting a bit late now. It's like 10 o'clock in the evening, so yeah. So the other radio took less than half an hour to do, and this one has taken about two and a half hours so far. So this, and it's partly because of this dial string being broken and repaired, partly because I couldn't get the dial unit itself out. I don't know how I'm going to get it back in, so I may as well do repairs on it, see if I can get it back to the point where I can screw it back in on this end up here. And yeah, so, but it's a really good performer. So we'll turn this off. Also, voltage has crept up. It's 236 now, whereas I set it before at 230. So that is another problem. Mind you, it's not like down in Melbourne where it was up to over 250 sometimes. Okay, let's do something with this. Turn this off. Should we put it up here? I won't step on it. And we'll turn the lights off. Still got LED lights, but they're up in the ceiling. That globe was working before. Not quite sure why it's not anymore. Okay, worry about that afterwards. So let's wow. So remember, there's no antenna on this or anything like that. I'm going to regret putting this back on again. So this is the top of the dial, so 1620 or something like that. I'll bring the microphone down a bit. And anyway, you can hear. Vision Christian Radio, never heard of them. I know what that is. That's the heater. There's nothing not give off interference these days. I'd have to turn the heater off. Okay, everything has turned itself off. I've turned off the computer. I've turned off the LED floodlights for here, studio lights. I've turned off the light in the room, and there's only one incandescent or halogen lamp on in the hallway out there, Here we go. The heater has turned itself off. This is just the ferrite rod antenna.
South Africa in Brisbane starting Saturday.
Still about a minute here before they called over. So the gentleman here was really
isolated. Whether you're here or if you're here, or even if you're here. Οι πιστωτικές κάρτες Eurobank μοιάζονται για εσάς και τις καθημερινές σας αγορές.
A mile rate of 21.8 after the final event.
That transmitter must be very local.
For all your mobile phone and tablet needs, AAA Electronics, Main Street Fan Sale.
Gippsland's Gold, 98.3 FM, 12:42 AM, local weather.
Wow! Bairnsdale? That is about 600 kilometres away. Well, no, it's about 400 kilometres away. It's right over the other side of Victoria on the east coast. Wow.
Currently it's 8 degrees. Gippsland's Gold 98.3 FM, 12:42 AM. Another hour of better music and more of it.
Final faithful 11. The man who said...
Forecasted. Winds turning southerly after 30 k's an hour throughout the afternoon and easing through the evening. For Thursday, cloudy, light southwesterly winds at top of 20. Friday, partly cloudy, light south to southeasterlies 23. Looking ahead to Saturday, mostly sunny, a top of 25. Tops tomorrow, Horsham 18 down to 6 overnight, Stall 15 down to 7, Ararat 14 down to 6, Swanville 21 down to 6, Mildura and Oyen 22 down to 7.
The iced coffee range from the cafe. It's barista made. Ice cold.
It's currently 9 degrees.
On 1089 3WM, 9th week Dennis Walter for Harvey Norman Electrical. Open 7 days. Dennis Walter on nights.
There's a bit of Twilight Zone. We were talking about spirits and ghosts before the news. Kathy, hello? Kathy?
For use, it was more about using clubs and hand-to-hand fight. And
Couple of stations there, fighting each other.
And after a few days on interview with ABC, and people got our orders that we
of all sorts of things, including a lot of wills, historic wills, so you can find out how much Keith Murdoch left to Rupert Murdoch, or how much was Dame Nellie Melba worth, and who did she leave the dough to, and so on and so forth. I'll talk about it a bit later with Adam Lindsay, the acting CEO of the museums of history. And in our issue of the day, after the Mighty Challenge, a new survey suggests that millennials take a lot of sickies compared to baby boomers. I don't want to start a war here, but what's going on? We'll talk about that a bit later on as well. Love to hear you and love you.
So this is Melbourne Station 774, ABC Melbourne.
If you would like to be part of it tonight, and that would be tip top from my point of view.
Nightlife with Philip.
Did you in some way find that comfort?
Great premonition that her second son, Bob, was destined for greatness. There was this sense of destiny, and when I was able to read his father's unpublished memoir, you know, from the very first moments when Bob literally came into the world, you know, blinking into the early morning light, the hospital staff, according to the Hawke family legend, said this boy is destined for great things. So that's what he grew up with. He didn't really necessarily believe in destiny, but he did believe some kind of celestial force was guiding him.
It's a bit like our incumbent Prime Minister, who's under the same impression.
Yeah, well, look...
It's a repeat of earlier in the year. Okay. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll get the other one, which we fixed earlier, and we'll do the run through the dial. This time I have the long wire on it, and again we'll start down the bottom. Again we'll start down the bottom of the dial. We're going to see where the dial pointer is. Okay. So this one seems to be out as well. Couple of stations there.
Okay. All right, Louis from Elwood. Hello, Louis.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad. What's your question?
Well, the question is deflation. So, you know, when I was growing up, my dad saved to buy a fridge, saved to buy a car, Mum saved to buy a lounge, and we never bought anything on credit. So how come we got so much inflation today? Would that have something to do with it?
Well, Rog, what do you reckon?
You put through on our car. Just spending time this evening gives us another insight into the life. Right, we'll be selling them for You should have a badge. We are not a weird.
They feel flush with cash and they go.
An ambassadorial appointment down the road, which didn't eventuate, and Hawke agreed, and they signed the document.
That's very interesting. I haven't aligned this particular radio, and is it bringing the light up? Yes, a little bit. Yes, so this radio isn't aligned. It's picking up lots of stuff, but it's pretty garbled. So it just goes to show, doesn't it, how much better a radio is once it's properly aligned. Okay, I'm going to cut this video off now. It's gone on way too long. But it was interesting experiments. Okay, I'll speak to you next week. Bye.